Hey, what's up you guys? This is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel. And today I want to focus my topic on macro social work and answering a question that people ask me regarding whether they can transition from direct practice to macro social work and macro social work later to direct practice. People tend to look at both macro social work and direct practice social work as being two totally different beasts, as being very disconnected in nature, but the truth is that macro and direct practice is very connected and intertwined. At the end of the day, it's both social work. In both areas, you are working with people around social justice, around advocacy, and helping those who are historically a part of oppressed groups, historically and today a part of oppressed groups. The foundation of it is all very similar, and even though I studied macro social work specific in my MSW program, I still had to take those foundational classes related to direct practice, how to work with people one-on-one and in small groups. And honestly, I think there should be a little bit more of the macro side that is a requirement for people who go to school and want to do therapy and focus on a more direct practice track. But I don't really think that is the case. I don't remember any of my friends who did therapy or who did take that direct practice track being required to take certain macro social work courses. But I think it is a good idea if you do have some electives and you have the opportunity to take some type of more macro level social work class around community organizing or advocacy, around policy, etc. I think you should definitely do it as someone in the direct practice space, because there may be a time in the future when you're working in your field and you want to do more for your clients outside of just the case management that you're providing for them or the therapy or, whatever type of one-on-one work you're providing with them. There may be a time when you want to actually advocate for policy changes on behalf of the population that you're working with. Let's say you're working with youth and you really care about the mental health of youth. There are certain policies that are in place today that make it to where it's a bit difficult for youth in urban communities to be mentally healthy because maybe they don't feel safe in their communities. They're battling gun violence in their communities or other type of exposure to violence, and that can wreak havoc on their mental health. So maybe that's something that you want to actually get more interested in the future and advocate on behalf of the population that you serve. So I think it is very important for both macro social workers and those in direct practice to intersect from time to time. And myself, even though I do macro, it's still important for me to have interpersonal skills and to also understand how the individual person is functioning in their community. Even though I look at things from a more larger scale point of view and I'm looking at the community as a whole and I'm looking at groups, instead of maybe just one individual, groups are made up of a bunch of different individuals. So I still need to have that understanding. And I think that's one reason I'm really thankful that I decided to go the psychology route for my undergraduate degree, because there is a lot of requirement. There is a necessity for me to still understand how to work one-on-one with people. And I say this in the videos that I make in my series about macro social work jobs. By the way, if you have not checked out that series, please do so, because I highlight the fact that when you're doing macro social work, you have to have strong interpersonal skills, strong relationship management skills, and sometimes you may have to have strong persuasion skills as well. And this really is tied into what you would learn in your program, doing more direct practice work. It is more focused on working with individuals. So even though you're doing macro social work, it doesn't mean that you're never going to have to work with people one-on-one or in smaller groups. You definitely will. When you're having one-on-one stakeholder meetings, when you're having small, more intimate community meetings, or just meetings with your colleagues and your coworkers, other project managers that you're working with, you're going to have those skills. So I'm very thankful for my background in psychology and those rudimentary foundational social work classes that I had to take that taught me, how to understand the individual and work with people on a more one-on-one basis. And just because you get your master's degree and you focus on a one-on-one or direct practice track, it does not mean that later you cannot apply for a job that is more macro social work oriented. Of course, if you know that this is the route that you prefer, you probably want to go to a school that offers a macro social work track and do that to begin with. But things happen, right? We change our minds as we grow in our fields. We may get different ideas or different desires around what we want to do. So maybe you want to do therapy for the first 5 years of your career, and then you want to transition into doing more macro level social work, policy work, advocacy work, community work, whoever, whatever you decide. And that's totally okay. You don't necessarily need to be a part of the macro track to be prepared for a more macro level job in the future. There are other ways to get those skills. I mean, will you be as prepared as someone who went through the macro track? Probably not, but there are ways for you to gain those skills later on, whether it be through jobs, fellowship programs, or other type of on-the-ground experience opportunities you can get for yourself. And I would say the same is the case for the other way around. So me, I do macro social work, but if I want to, in the future, do more one-on-one work, that's totally a possibility for me too. Now, for me, it may be a little bit more complicated because let's say I want to go the LCSW route. That will mean that I will have to get a job where I can have a supervisor and they would supervise me through that process that could take 2 to 3 years for me to become a licensed clinical social worker, but it's possible for me. That's not something that's out of my reach. If I wanted to just change everything tomorrow and put macro social work on the back burner and say, okay, like I am narrowing my scope and want to just focus on doing therapy, I can totally do that. I would have to make a drastic change in the jobs that I have been working in, and I would have to choose a job that more aligns with doing therapy or direct practice, but it's totally possible for me. So I just want to make this video to let you guys know that it doesn't have to be so black and white. And even though it's really important to take the time necessary to make a good informed decision about what you want to study, as far as the track goes, whether it's a macro or a more one-on-one focus in grad school, it's not the end of the day if later on you feel, oh my God, I chose the wrong track. Or maybe you chose macro, but the job out of grad school that you're most interested in is more direct practice focused. It's not too late. You can definitely switch up and change the route that you want to go in. And I think that's really what I want to get across in all of my videos. The fact that things are not set in stone. I think we get so fearful with the belief that we can't change our perspective or our trajectory later on in life. We totally can. It's fine. I think in life, we're not meant to do the same thing for our whole entire lives. Like we're meant to try different things and grow in different areas, and our career is included in that. So just try not to limit yourself too much when it comes to macro social work, direct practice, etc. And something else I wanted to touch on. I get a question from people who are interested in only macro social work at the moment, and they want to know if they need to get their licensed clinical social work degree, if they need to become an LCSW. I think I answered this question in another video, but I keep getting it, so I want to highlight it again. And the answer is probably not. You probably don't need to get your LCSW. And in some states, they have an advanced license specifically for those who study macro social work. So I live in the state of Michigan, and they have the opportunity for me to go through that route of sitting under a supervisor for 2 to 3 years and becoming an advanced licensed social worker with a focus on macro. So definitely see if your state has that option for you as well, because I think this is going to become more of a thing as macro social work becomes more and more popular, if that makes sense. I think states are going to have to create a route for macro social workers to get that advanced license and that advanced training, just like their LCSW or direct practice social work counterparts. All right, you guys, so this is really a short and sweet video. I hope this video makes sense and can help any of you guys out there if you are struggling with figuring out if you want to go the macro social work track or the direct practice track. Of course, you want to take time and consideration when you're making that decision. However, just know that you can change your decision later on. And the main reason you choose these tracks is because it's helping you to get a jump start in the specific area that you want to focus on. But it's not locking you in a certain route or position for all of eternity. That's just not the case. As social workers, we often bounce back and forth between macro and direct practice throughout the span of our careers. I mean, just think about it. Your career can be 30, 40 plus years of your life. So of course you probably don't want to be doing the same exact thing for that whole entire time. And also, as I mentioned, on a day-to-day basis, no matter what type of job we have, we are tapping into and utilizing the skills of a macro social worker, those typical skills of a macro social worker, as well as the typical skill set required for someone who does direct practice social work. It's not an either or thing. So hopefully this video helps someone out there who may be a little bit confused about this, and please leave in the comment section below if you have anything else to add on this or if you have any questions about this. This video is just short and sweet. I just wanted to answer this question because it's something that I get a lot, and I want to make sure that you guys are not confused about this matter. But thank you so much. Make sure to follow me on my Instagram, and on that note, I will see you guys in the next video. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.